Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
Marines use that.
All right, we are live. Not a live, we live.
Are you going to be alive when you go to work?
Does my knee even here to do?
Sometimes I wish I could, when I get to work, find me a spot.
Just remember where you got them so you can put them back.
Go.
Because they had it in a nice circle this time.
Yeah.
That we'll have to put back, or a semicircle.
What? What are you doing, Wes?
I need some chairs in there.
They need chairs for my kids' study.
How many chairs you need?
Don't forget where you got them.
Got it.
Now, where am I going to hide them?
Oh.
I feel exposed here. Kind of are.
He's trying to tell you to move up.
No, I tried that.
I'm shocked he didn't pull the chair out from under you.
I was watching.
Oh.
Don't forget where you got your chairs from.
Wait a minute, didn't Wesley get chairs for everybody?
Be all right, once we get it back the way it was.
Yeah. So one of those are. Oh, I took her chair.
I think Wesley got you guys some chairs.
Yeah, Wesley already got you chairs.
If he's short any chairs, he'll come get you some more.
He's a short young man.
That he is. This is an interesting portion.
Nah.
Yeah.
So are we gonna talk about what the story is on why they had different gods and why Laban referred to him as being, he said, your father's God and my God. And he said the God of Abraham and Nahor or something. I don't remember how we worded it.
Yeah, that's what it says. It's not in my lesson plan. There are several slides. I could have gone all night with this one. Hey, before we get started, let's pray. Adonai, Elohim, thank you for the food we've enjoyed. We have eaten and we are satisfied. We thank you for the land in Yeshua's name.
Amen.
Before we get started, a couple of announcements. It's time for us to pay for our air conditioning unit at the new location, the new building. We have most of the money ready to go, but if you would like to and are in a position to be able to help out with that, we need to, now's the time over the next couple of weeks because we got to get that paid for. We're short a few $100. If you have it and you would like to, there's no pressure if you don't and you can't. So if you would like to, and just so everybody is on the same page, it's a standalone unit for our classroom. The unit itself plus the ductwork and the wiring and the thermostat is $2,600. That's what we're going to pay for it. And it will match all of the other units in the building. So there's that. Also,
Is it big enough?
yes, absolutely. Because it has to pass code. So, and if it doesn't pass code, one of Jim's friends are going to come in with AR-15s and take it from us. And take it from us. And kick us out. That's what they're going to do. That's what they have.
Make us stand out in the hot sun.
And in the rain. Also, next Shabbat, we're planning to meet here on Erev Shabbat. Some of you might remember a nice lady that comes and worships with us every once in a while. Her name is Laura Lee. She's got some friends coming from Israel, Messianic friends coming from Israel. And we're going to have an Erev Shabbat service here. And they're going to speak to us a little bit about the Messianic situation in Israel, how that's going. Next Erev Shabbat. I don't know the time on it yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be, I have to assume it's going to be about 1700 or 5 o'clock. So, I know people work, so get here when you can.
Well, that's just about the sundown time anyway.
Just about, right. So, anyway, there's that, and it's gonna be widely attended. It's, something that we're advertising, local news network, newspapers, that kind of thing, all bunch of different congregations, so I expect a lot of people, actually. If anyone knows Laura Lee, she knows how to pack a house, let me tell you. She puts these events together all the time, and people come, so, just so you know. She's done a lot of stuff.
Do you know who she brings with her?
Can't remember the name. Wayne has the information, but they are from Israel and they are Messianic.
Are they Messianic in the sense that
I don't know.
you have different?
They're Messianic and they're from Israel. That's what I know. That's all I know right now. So
I know they're going through a hard time over there.
so are we here.
Well, I mean, the Israeli government has taken away their tax exempt status, which is like, seriously, or I should say the Knesset. That's just like not fair, not right.
Yeah, don't know. All right, so our Torah portion is Vayyeitzei. Anyway, anybody else got anything else? Those are just the 2 quick announcements that I have. Okay, great. There are no mitzvot, according to Rambam, in this portion. Let's watch this.
Welcome to another episode of PowerShot Points, short thoughts from the weekly Torah portion. This week's PowerShot point comes from Vayyeitzei, which is Hebrew for "and he left," and it goes from Genesis 28:10 to Genesis 32:2. This PowerShot begins with the story of Jacob settling at Bethel, where he fell asleep and had a supernatural encounter with Yahweh in his dreams. It also tells the story of Jacob working for Laban and marrying Rachel and Leah. Then we learn about the birth of Jacob's children, and Jacob prospering at Laban's expense. The parashah concludes with the story of Jacob and his family fleeing from Laban. There's a lot we can talk about in this Torah portion. Today, we're just going to present a thought about God meeting us where we're at. If there's anything we've learned about Jacob by reading his story in the Torah, it is learned that he is someone who strives, struggles, and manipulates to get what he wants. Jacob seems to be the kind of guy who looks out for number one. That is, himself, who was able to convince his brother, Esau, to trade his birthright for a bowl of stew, and even deceived his father into giving Esau's blessing. This led to Esau threatening to kill Jacob. Thus, Jacob had no choice but to leave home and escape to his uncle Laban's. This brings us to Jacob's dream. On his way to Laban's, he settled at a place that would soon be called Bethel. He found a rock to lean against and fell asleep. As Jacob began to dream, he saw a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. Then, above the ladder, the God of the universe begins to speak to Jacob. Yahweh promises to fulfill his word despite the trials that Jacob is facing. He promises that Jacob and his children will indeed inherit the land that God promised Abraham. Yahweh then concludes this encounter with a personal blessing to Jacob. Genesis 28. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back into this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I promised you. What's amazing about this blessing is that Jacob didn't have to strive for it. He didn't steal it or manipulate someone else to get it. Despite all the shady things Jacob had done in his life, God met him where he was and gave him the promise of his love, the one thing in this world that cannot be taken, stolen, or strived for on our own. Indeed, God brought the ladder to Jacob and met him where he was. In the New Testament, Yeshua the Messiah expounds on this powerful dream given to Jacob, John chapter 1. And he said to him, Truly, truly, I say to you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man. Yeshua the Messiah, the Son of Man, is our ladder to God. There is nothing you can do to buy this ladder. It cannot be traded or obtained through manipulation. Even if you work 14 years like Jacob did for Laban, you cannot earn this ladder. God's love, fully manifested in his Son, is a gift that we can either choose to receive or turn down. The significance of a free gift is that it gives the receiver of the gift no opportunity for boasting in his own talent or strength. As Paul says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not of your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast." We all need to hear that and be reminded. God's love is available to you right now. All you have to do is open up your heart and receive it. Thank you for joining us for another Power Shop Point. We hope that you've been blessed by this teaching. And remember, continue to test everything. Shalom.
It's pretty good. I have about somewhere between 30 and maybe 40 slides, but I want to have a quick Midrash on Jacob. Might sound a little sermony, but always as in true but still fashion. Feel free to speak up. If you got a question, you got something you'd like to say or like to add. But so I said a couple weeks ago, if when you read the Torah, if you're not asking a question every 4 or 5 words, maybe you're not reading the Torah for everything it is. So here's just I want to start with an interesting thing. The beginning says, Vayyeitzei Yaakov mi Beersheva vayelech Haranah. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went to Haran. So I said, so where's the question in that? And I said, well, why does it say that he went out from Beersheba? Wouldn't it just be sufficient for him to say, and Jacob went to Haran?
What is later he'll be going back there?
Is it important that they say he left from Beersheba? Because if he's going back there, which is great, is it important that it mentions that he left out from Beersheba? Why not just say, hey, he went to his uncle Laban's house?
So where did he leave from?
Haran. Huh?
Where did he leave from?
Excellent. That's exactly right. That's an excellent question. Why is that important?
Because.
Okay, you mean like dramatically, it's like saying, it's like overemphasizing something. It's like,
yeah. That was just an example of me saying, hey, ask a question. And you're just gonna believe this. Every single question that I could think of to ask, somebody's already asked it. And so here is a rabbinic answer to that question. I'm not kidding. I literally found that question after I asked it. The sages say, the departure of a righteous man from any place diminishes its importance and should be keenly felt by all of its inhabitants. That is the rabbinic answer to why does it say he left out of Beersheba. You got a question? Yeah.
How old was Jacob when he rolled away the stone from the well?
7.
What?
No.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. It's an excellent question, though. Yes, sir.
Okay. Why does it list Beersheba when was that where he was at with Yitzhak and Rebekah?
Yeah, that's where they lived.
That's where he went to live after he married Rivka.
But it's also where his dad Yitzhak and his mama were living at the time when he had to flee, right? So that brings me a question, though, that the sages say the departure of a righteous man from any place diminishes. Is Jacob really a righteous man?
Could be. He's a peaceful man.
Maybe compared to Esau?
There you go.
but
The reason he's leaving is because he's fleeing. He deceived his father, and his brother wants to kill him. Is he a righteous man? He uses, like the guy in the video just said, he's a manipulator. He deceives people and does whatever he wants to, whatever he can to get what he
Hold on a
wants.
minute here. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, I'm holding on.
No sense to rush to judgment here. Let's figure this out.
That's
It
what we're doing.
wasn't Jacob's idea to go deceive his daddy.
Doesn't matter.
Okay? Oh, it does. It was a woman, his mother.
Amen.
Do this.
There we go. Right?
And a woman told him to leave. Yes.
That's right.
I have a really big doghouse at my place, you might want to come check it out.
I got two. And if I'm really bad, I go to the little ones.
So I find it interesting, though, that the Torah doesn't criticize Jacob, and I think the stuff he did was callous manipulation and deception. Honestly, that's the way I kind of see it. But
His brother did sell it to him, so it's not really deceptive. He could have
Is it
sold
not?
his daughter.
Yeah, but
Think
for
Think about-
soup and
think
some
about
bread
for some soup,
and bread.
Hey, if you're that,
we're talking about something that's worth $1 million versus a few coins.
I'm just saying, if he thought that bowl of soup was worth it, he sold it. What are your questions? You know,
You
can't
don't
fix
think
stupid.
you don't think Jacob was manipulating him into getting it?
You can't fix stupid. Sorry. I know I'm catching up.
Well, I think the proof that Jacob was quite the manipulator and acted shamefully was because he got the worst rap when he got to his uncles.
He met his match.
I mean,
So you think maybe the Bible suggests that he paid for the manipulation? Because
yeah,
now people are manipulating him and
Yeah.
deceiving him, right?
He deceived his father, now Laban deceived him with his wife.
And his wages.
well, I guess it doesn't say anything terribly critical of Jacob. It doesn't say anything horribly critical of Laban. It's just kind of like they both equal each other out. They,
I don't know. We'll talk about that again a little bit, yeah? That's right. Because remember, we're going to talk about this a little bit, but remember at the end where, Laban says, hey, my flock has prospered under your care. So what are your wages? And Jacob says, hey, I'll just take all the speckled ones. And what does he do? He immediately starts devising a plan to make sure that his flock prospers and Laban's doesn't.
Didn't it say he dreamed and an angel told him how to do that?
Just saying. So he
Because
deceived him.
Laban kept switching it.
Laban kept changing his wages, changed them 10 times. Yeah.
That was what Jacob
He deceived
said,
him
though.
on
He
his
got, he got punished for it, that's for
I
sure.
think he was screwed.
You think what?
I think Laban really changed his wages 10 times. I don't think that was an exaggeration.
I don't think so either.
I'm not so sure that it mattered that he was a righteous man, because it did not appear that way. I think he was a blessed man. He
Okay,
had God's favor on him, whether he wanted it or not.
sure, and that's a good lesson, right?
Good point.
That's a good lesson. I was just trying to answer what the rabbis decided to come up with. Jacob was a righteous man, and when a righteous man leaves a place, the whole city better feel it.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. But so let's talk about the deception just a little bit. Because once he got to Laban's house, he got, I'm just going to use the word treachery. He got treachery from his father-in-law. Later on, he got treachery from his own sons, right? People used the deception. Laban deceived him. His sons deceived him over the death of Benjamin, right? So, and Joseph,
Yeah,
selling
there you
Joseph into slavery.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I meant.
Don't forget Dinah.
So it's interesting. Yeah, exactly. Killing all the people for what they did to them. So, and I'm just thinking about in our own lives, we kind of struggle with the question of honesty and personal integrity here in America. And I'm going to just say, I'm going to just say that I think it's worldwide, but especially here in the United States, it's definitely worldwide. Dishonesty abounds. And in many cases, and I know it's happening here in the United States, you are persecuted for telling the truth, and you are praised as a hero for spreading lies. One quick example of that is
Politics.
Joseph Schmuckatelli decides he's going to pretend he's a woman. And if we refuse to pretend that Joseph is a woman, we are persecuted for it. And in some places, they're already handing out fines and or jail time because we won't pretend. And if we say, no, that is not a woman, that's a man, we are persecuted for it, for not telling the truth. So what I'm saying is dishonesty is terrible, and it's rampant everywhere. I remember saying this when I came to the Army. And I came from the Marine Corps, and I was stationed in Washington, D.C. at at the oldest post of the Marine Corps, Marine Barracks, Washington, D.C. And in my little group of Marines, dishonesty was not tolerated. They would jump on you quick. And let me tell you something, Lance Corporal Kim Brell, a few times, was dishonest. And I got called on it quick, and I got in a lot of trouble. And so that's where I came from. And then I came into the Army, and I looked around, and after about 2 or 3 years in the Army, it just popped into my mind. Dishonesty is tolerated at every level until it becomes convenient to do something about it. If you can tell a lie all day long, but if it inconveniences the wrong person, that's when something's going to be done about it, and no other time. It's tolerated everywhere. And we also, for example, in the courts, in the vast majority of our courts, still we have to put our hand on the Bible and say, I do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. But people still get up on the stand and they lie about it. They lie in their testimony, or they're not completely truthful. And let me tell you something, withholding part of the story is still the same thing as telling a lie. It's being deceptive. It's dishonesty. And up until about 1968, if you were caught in court telling a lie, you would be charged with perjury. But around 1968, 1970, in that area there, around Vietnam time, they stopped charging people with perjury when they lied on the stand. Now they do still occasionally. If it's a humongous thing, they'll
When it's
do
convenient.
it. When it's convenient, exactly right. They just don't do it anymore. And I'm sure Jim will swear to this. When I was a police officer and I would have to question a suspect, first thing out of their mouth is, I swear to God, that ain't mine. I swear to God, I didn't do that. They did do it. The drugs were theirs, but dishonesty is everywhere and it is tolerated. So, and I know for sure Oklahoma has a charge on the books lying to a police officer while he's in the middle of an investigation. Can't remember what the exact verbiage of it is, but there is an actual charge. You can't charge them with it. Well, you can, but it always gets dropped. I've never known I've never known that charge to go through personally. I'm sure somewhere it did, but I've never seen it. I didn't see it in North Carolina when I was a cop there, and I didn't see it here, and I didn't see it when I was a federal cop either. People lie.
Just as a side, you're not supposed to lie to an officer. There were penalties, it's still against the law, enforcement. But, curious thing, an officer is not required by law to tell you the truth.
That's right.
And that kind of double standard is part of the problem too.
Well, that's
I don't think
investigated.
I don't know if it's part of the problem. I don't know if that's part of the problem, because sometimes if you can deceive someone, they will tell the truth. And here's how they do it, Nelson. And this is a straight up lie. If you lie to me, I'm going to charge you with perjury, and that's punishable by 10 years in prison. Go ahead and lie to me. I dare you. Lie to me. You're going to prison. It's not going to get charged with it.
Or Smuckatelli, your partner told me you did this.
That's exactly right. When you did it, it's like, damn, I knew he was going to rat us out. So then the story comes clean. And having been a police officer, I can tell you, you have to be able to use some sort of deception. I'm not telling where the deception gets to a problem, and I'm going to confess a sin to this group of people here. When I was a police officer, I went through a nasty, nasty, nasty divorce. And I hated women. And I was on the street, and I would pull a woman over and write her a ticket for speeding just because she was alive. And I did that one time after about maybe 18 months of doing it. I pulled this woman over, and she was a nurse. She had a hard day at the hospital. I don't know exactly what happened. I pulled her over for speeding just because she was a woman. And she started crying about it. And it hit me. I'm like, oh, man, what in the heck am I doing? That is a sin that I've lived with. And I've asked for forgiveness, not to that lady, obviously, because I don't remember who she is. But, and here's the rest of the true, honest story how it went. I told her to slow down, that I wasn't going to write her a ticket tonight, just watch her speed and let her go home. and I went straight to the department and put in my 2 weeks notice. Because I thought to myself, I'm going to end up in jail for doing scrap. Because it's a fine line once you start doing terrible things like that, and easy to slip on. So I quit, and I went down. I was going to go back in the Marine Corps, but the Marine Corps was having a drawdown because it was after Desert Storm, and they weren't taking prior service. And the Army guy on the way out said, "Hey, I got something for you." And me being a smart aleck, I said, "Well, what do you got for me that can get me out of here this week?" And he says, "I can't get you out of here this week because usually the police check takes about 2 weeks." I'm like, "That's covered. I'll be right." Went to a local police station, showed my badge. They pulled out my criminal report, which was clean. Took it back to them, and lo and behold, that was on a Tuesday. By Friday afternoon, I was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So it all worked out.
From where?
Huh?
From where?
From
Virginia?
Civilian.
North Carolina?
Dunn, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, right close to Fayetteville. Fayetteville, sorry.
Yeah, you got it right.
Fayetteville, that's what we used to call
You got it right the first time.
it. Right?
Yeah.
So it seems, so in the case of Jacob, it seems strange to me that the Almighty tolerated dishonesty with our esteemed forefather. 3 of them, right? He tolerated Abraham's dishonesty, tolerated Yitzhak's dishonesty, and now it looks like he's tolerating Yaakov's dishonesty. It's interesting that the Christians will charge Jews. They'll accuse them and say, "Hey, you know, your patriarch Jacob was a liar. I mean, he was a deceiver." So they actually sat down and, because of the accusation, they decided to explain it away. And I'm going to read some stuff from the Mishnah, how the rabbis decided to explain away. The rabbis attempted to explain that Jacob did not intend to deceive his father with these words. This is what they say at one point. "I am Esau, thy firstborn." That's what the Bible says. Who are you? Who are you, my son? "I'm Esau, your firstborn." Well, the rabbis got together at some point and said what he meant was, "I am the one whose children will accept the Decalogue, which begins with me, thy firstborn."
So the deception continues.
Right. But not by Jacob in this case, by the rabbis. And
Right, they're continuing the deception.
it is exactly
They're
right.
deceiving themselves.
Exactly right.
They do that to a lot of the patriarchs.
They do.
Try
to explain it away.
Explain it away.
That's exactly right.
We can't have one of our guys that sings bad.
Hey. The only reason God tolerated it is because he promised that he would take care of it.
Okay, did God tolerate it? Think Jacob suffered some, paid for those crimes?
There was,
Jacob went through some pretty hard stuff.
but still, the promise was through there.
That's exactly right. God promised that it would be through there. So it's an excellent point. Excellent point.
And they didn't know right because they weren't taught.
What?
They weren't taught what was right from wrong.
Who wasn't?
Abraham, look at all his family, where they're going back to. They're going back to Sarah's, the half-sister, and the cousins. They're all the same family. And they didn't teach them not to be deceitful. They didn't teach them what was right.
Maybe. Pretty sure they knew. There's a big time sense of morality for sure. But
I was gonna say the king of Egypt knew it was wrong when he had a heart attack when he found out.
yeah, maybe. Maybe. So in the Mishnah, so get this, after we're talking about the deception here and them trying to explain away the deception, the Mishnah says, the importance of truth-telling is so basic to the biblical worldview that it is included in the Ten Commandments. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. With these words, the Torah formally forbids falsely testifying under any circumstance. Mishnah also says shopkeepers must wipe their measures clean twice a week, their weights once a week, and their scale after every use. That's from Mishnah Baba Batra. In business, the halakha requires an individual to observe the highest standards of honesty and good faith. A person must not set self-interest above truth. So, so in one breath, they're trying to explain it away, and then they turn around and say, hey, honesty is the most important thing. So honesty is not solely a matter of business dealings, as there is wrongdoing in buying and selling. The Mishnah also says there is wrongdoing in words. This is Jewish wisdom, wrongdoing in words. Hey, Denver, I see you got a jacket for sale there. How much is it, man? And Denver says, oh, it's $10. Oh, yeah, cool. So the Mishnah says, me inquiring about the price of that jacket with absolutely zero interest in buying it is deception. I called my son on that the other day. He's looking for new trucks. And he said, yeah, this guy, look at this truck right here. I talked to him about it. Hey, maybe your mom and I would co-sign a loan for you to get a new truck. And he was smart. He says, nah, I can't afford it right now. But then he gets on and he's communicating with a guy on Facebook Marketplace or someplace about a welding rig that he's got for sale for $11,000. And my son says, yeah, I talked him down to $10,000. I'm like, oh, really? I thought you weren't in the market for a truck. He goes, I'm not. But I just wanted to see what's out there. I'm like, well, why are you negotiating with this guy when you have no interest in buying the truck whatsoever? You're wasting the guy's time. So that's why people are mean in those sales, and that's why they put serious inquiries only. Because you're not. You're being dishonest. Anyway, that's from the Mishnah. And the Talmud says that it is forbidden to steal the mind of other people by misleading another person, by goading that person into believing true what one knows not to be true. So we tell somebody that something's true even though we know for sure it's not. That's straight up lying. So if honesty is so basic to the biblical worldview, why do we find so many examples of dishonesty in the biblical narrative? Especially with the last three people we're talking about, Abraham, Yitzhak, Jacob.
Because dishonesty is also universal.
Yeah. Dishonesty, like that's what I said in the beginning. Dishonesty is tolerated everywhere until it becomes convenient to do something about it.
Until it affects you.
Until it affects me. Exactly right.
Well, it seems like people just, nowadays, it seems like they just get by with it. It seems like nothing, you know what I'm saying?
As long as you don't offend me, you can lie all day long, and I'll support you.
And it's almost to the point where people have more faith in the thing that you're not going to get, you know what I'm saying? It sounds like you have more faith in doing wrong and getting rewarded than doing right and getting, you know.
Yeah.
How many people voted for Biden? and all he speaks is lies.
Colossians 3:10 says, do not lie to each other, since you have taken off your old self with its practices and put on the new self, which is being renewed in the knowledge in the image of our Creator. Do not lie to each other. Let me ask this, is dishonesty ever the best policy?
No.
What about someone asks you something and you know if you're truthful, it will offend them?
Yeah, so there's a great example. So let me tell you something, is dishonesty ever the best policy?
Yes,
Give me an example.
life, when life is at stake.
When life is at stake.
Well, when I always tell my children, if somebody comes to the door and says, where's your dad, I'm going to kill him. Lie to him. Don't tell him where he is. Dad, where he is.
Yeah. Good. So, this is a really true story that happened. My wife's grandfather, Bill, got cancer many years ago, and he beat it, and then it came back. But it came back with a vengeance when it came back. And he was already on hospice, and he was getting ready to come home from the hospital, and hospice was getting ready to start. He was in the hospital bed. And out in his yard, he had some peach trees that he had grown from little whips. And they produced, I'm telling you, these are the biggest peaches I'd ever seen. And just beautiful peaches. And he was in the hospital, and he was suffering bad. I mean, he was in a bad place emotionally, mentally, and physically, obviously. And he told his wife, hey, I want you to bring me one of those peaches off that tree in the front door. They got home, I'm not kidding you, somebody had stolen all of the peaches off that tree. Every last one of them. And so when she came back the next day and said, hey, did you bring one of the peaches? She said, nah, somebody stole them all. And it just broke his heart. I mean, literally started crying. I'm wondering if, and at that moment she said, I should have went to the store and bought a peach and brought it. He would have not known. And now look what I've done. So that really did happen. So that was a pretty rough time right there. So honesty and personal integrity, in my mind, are paramount. You can't say that you are a follower of the Most High and Yeshua the Messiah if you're a dishonest person. And I am somebody who, early on in his adult life, was a dishonest person. I just shared a true story with you when I was a police officer. Of course, I went back to law enforcement after I got my head straight. But at that time, I was definitely headed down the wrong path. And I'm not trying to blame it on somebody else. I had gone through some stuff, and I was just stupid, and I made bad decisions. So and honestly, I praise Adonai for the bad decisions, because now I'm here. And so it's good. And while if I could go back and not make the bad decisions, I would. I'm glad I'm here, just so you know. So I just want to tell you that honesty in your dealings is most important. Don't lie. Unless it is something like we just said, like, where's your dad? I'm going to kill him. You lie to him. He's not here. He's whatever the case is. Or if someone's dying, like, hey, here's one of the peaches, whatever the case is. And also from this message, you should know and understand that even though these three men made those mistakes in their life, God still called them righteous men and gave them the inheritance. And so even though we may have done some dishonest things, we still have the inheritance through Yeshua the Messiah. But we want to keep a cap on that and not do it anymore as best as we possibly can. You know what I mean? And I'd say start right now. I mean, if you've done some stuff, I'm not telling you to come to the congregation and confess your sins. Nothing like that. I'm just saying, if you're being dishonest about something, stop being dishonest about it. Start right now and do the right thing every time, even when nobody is watching. Especially when nobody's watching. That's integrity right there. And I really encourage everyone to adopt a personal sense of integrity in everything you do and everything you say. I have not always been that type of person. I try very hard to be now. So let's get on to some slides. Unless anybody's got any questions or want to tell me I'm stupid. Good, thank you.
You want to be honest?
Yeah, go ahead. So let's talk about the place. This is where the place he encountered and spent the night there because the sun had set. He took from the stones of the place which he arranged around his head and laid down at that place. And Rashi's comment says the scripture doesn't mention which place it is, but he opines that it was Mount Moriah because of Genesis 22:4, and he saw the place from afar. Anybody ever heard that it was Mount Moriah? The exact same phrase is found a few verses later of the place, using the same words there. But I thought there was another slide in there. Maybe I didn't put it in. Somebody else called it a different place, but there we go. No, same thing.
It was called Luz.
Luz, yeah. It was formerly called Luz. Then it became Bethel, right? Later on. Let's talk about the pillow, the stone of destiny. This is pretty cool. According to the traditional legend, shortly before 700 BCE, the colonists from the tribe of Dan, Tuatha De Danann, arrived in Ireland by ship in about 569 BCE. The prophet Jeremiah came to Ireland after the fall of Jerusalem. Jeremiah brought a stone called Liat Fa'il. In Gaelic means the stone of destiny, and he said that it was Jacob's pillow. The stone was later brought to Scotland. It was known as the Stone of Scone. The Scotland kings were crowned upon it. was captured by Edward I Longshanks in 1296 CE. Subsequent English monarchs were crowned upon it. The stone was returned to Scotland in 1996 and is currently located in Edinburgh Castle. The stone will only leave Scotland again for coronation at Westminster Abbey.
And by the way, St. Andrews broke it.
We'll get into that. I've been to Edinburgh Castle. It's pretty awesome. It's really awesome. Went there for a military tattoo in 1994. So this is it, the Stone of Destiny, Jacob's pillow, and that's how it was kept. Pretty neat, right? Really treat it with respect. So this is cool. Huh. Why? I have some slides hidden here. I want to just take a second. Oh, there we go. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, so I am going to get to it. Let's talk about the ladder. We are going to get to the Stone of Destiny. That's what it looks like, by the way. So let's talk about the ladder. I don't know how my slides got out of order. It's weird. And he dreamt, and behold, a ladder, or sulam in Hebrew, was set earthward, and its top reached heavenward, and behold, angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And so in the Zohar, the ladder is the equivalent to Eitz, or the tree, as the Sephardic tree of the 10 Sfarot, which you saw in the next slide over. And Tzilan Elohim, the supernatural image of Elohim. So this is what they say the Eitz kind of looks like. And that really does kind of, interestingly, look like the little string thing that Denver made a few minutes ago, right? With all the little crosses and stuff. Jacob's ladder we used to make when we were kids. And these are the 10 Sfarot, or the 10 attributes of God. And that's what they say that Jacob's ladder is referring to. And so the ladder, Mount Sinai, the ladder, Art Scroll commentary, yes?
I heard something recently, where it mentions about the angels. It says ascending and descending. It starts with they're going up because their natural place is to work here on the earth, or God's will here on the earth. That's why they were ascending first and then descending.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So the Art Scroll says that the ladder alludes to Sinai, since the words Sulam and Sinai both have the same numerical value, which is 130, and that is in Gematria. The angels represent Moshe and Aharon, and God stood atop the ladder just as he stood atop Sinai to give the Torah. Accordingly, the Torah was given at Sinai and taught by sages as Moses and Aharon is the bridge from heaven to earth, is what they say. You got a question? You okay? So John, in the Peshitta, John 1:49-51, Nathanael answered him and said, Rabbi, you are the son of Allah. You are the king of Israel. Yeshua said to him, because I told you that I saw you under the fig tree, you do believe, for you will see greater things than these. He said to him, truly, truly, I say to you, from now on you will see heaven opening and the angels of Allah ascending and descending to the Son of Man. Also says on the Son of Man in different translations. Pretty interesting. Yeah. He said to him, truly I say to you, from now on you see heaven opening, ascending to the Son of Man, or on the Son of Man. Yeshua says that he is the ladder, and through him is the way to the altar in the heavenly realms. And I agree with that.
That's an interesting touch on it in a way, though. So,
yeah,
I was thinking, of course, that the ascending and descending, and then he was like at the bottom of this ascending descending. I wasn't thinking of it in terms of him being the ladder.
Oh, yeah.
That's a different mental picture for me.
And he is the bridge between them and earth.
Yeah.
So I was saying, like, when the dove descended upon him, I wasn't thinking of it, like a ladder.
You're thinking of a dove coming and landing on his shoulder, right?
Yes.
Or on his head. Yeah. Verse 11, stones is plural. verse 18, it is singular. This was interesting when I found it. Jacob arose early in the morning and took the stone that he placed around his head and set it up as a pillar, and then he poured oil on its top. But now pillows, the rashishot is plural. Jacob rose early in the morning, took the stone that he had for his pillows, and set up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. So I wanted to look into this a little bit, and this is what I want to ask you. Can you think of anything else that uses both singular and plural words to describe the same thing? There's one really big one everyone should know. Elohim. Yeah. That's a really good one right there. So here's a couple. They made 50 clasps of gold and joined the curtains to one another with the clasps. So the tabernacle was echad. Echad is one. They made 50 clasps of bronze to join the tent together so that it would be echad. And also Elohim, which means mighty ones, right? El is mighty one. Elohim.
And man and woman joined together, they become one.
Yes, sir.
Become one.
Become one, yep. Excellent, yep. When man and woman are joined together, they become echad. The stones. Some say the connections between the stones and the Messiah. If the stones represent Israel, Matthew 2:15, reference to Hosea 11:1, has a stones connection. And they all drank of the same spirit, for they were drinking from the rock. The spirit that came with them, that rock was Messiah. Bottom line is the stones tell us about Yeshua, right?
Yeah.
If one person came from 12 tribes, one stone came, if 12 stones came from one stone and the 12 stones become one people, once broken into two, then back to one people, that's similar to Ezekiel's prophecy. I don't believe in my heart that that's a stretch. And that really makes sense to me and speaks to me. And because Ezekiel 37:19 says, "Thus says Adonai, behold, I will take the stick of Yosef, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his companions, I'll put them with it, with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick in my hand, and they will be one in my hand." Bottom line, I think the ladder and the stones both teach us about the Messiah. I want to go back because if you'll just excuse me for 1 second, I don't know why those slides got hidden. I got this really cool thing. Can't figure out why. I know they were in this when I reviewed. So give me 1 second. I apologize for this.
So I looked. Pillow and pillar come from entirely different words, but they both come from Latin. But they are not related, even though you might think that pillar and pillow are somehow related. They're not. But they both led to forms of the word pile. So our word pile is saying like how plush something is the word that became pillow. It came from cushion. But our word pile that refers to things piled up, that comes from pillar, which in Latin was pila, pile.
That's crazy. It's kind of an anomaly, isn't it?
So anyway, so they converged to similar meanings, but they started out as two quite different words in Latin. So one was cushion and one was pillar.
All right.
We ended up with pile from both pillar and pillow.
You work in the right place to get them.
It must have been hot outside too.
So let's talk about this for a second. This is some pretty cool stuff I found. In Glasgow, a small group of nationalist students tried to strike a blow for Scottish pride. On December 25th, 1950, 4 of them, Ian Hamilton, Kay Matheson, Alan Stewart, and Gavin Vernon, decided to repatriate the stone. Hamilton recalls, "I seized one of the iron rings and pulled strongly. It came easily, too easily for its weight. I felt something uncanny happen. Stop, and I shone my torch." They call flashlight a torch over there. "I shall not forget what the faint light revealed, for I had pulled the section of the stone away from the main part and lay in terrifying separation from its parent. I was going to be sick. Everything now was turned to a new purpose, which was not good. Better to howl and bring the watchman and have it repaired than carry away a broken stone. We've broken Scotland's luck, came Alan's awful whisper. I shone the torch on the break and suddenly saw that the greater area of the break was much darker than the thin wafer around the top edge. The stone had been cracked for years, and they had not told us. No, we haven't, I said. They did it. They've cheated us and kept it from us. Quit talking and get moving, said Gavin. I picked up the small part like a football, opened the door to the scriarium. The light burned at the far end of the nave, but the watchman there was no sign. The stone of scone was broken into 2 parts. So it's pretty interesting. That's like Gavin was saying, at some point, somebody broke it, and they were just never told anybody about it. And they've kept it in that throne for a long time. I thought that was pretty interesting. Those guys that were stealing it, at first they thought, oh man, we just broke it. But they didn't. Somebody else had broken it.
Did they actually get it stolen?
Yeah, they got it stolen. It's back in Scotland now. I didn't get to see that stone when I was there. In fact, I didn't even know anything about it when I was there. But anyway, it's there. So let's get down. I wanted to share that part with you. It's pretty interesting. Let's talk about the dream. And see, Adonai stood above it and said, I am Yahweh Elohim of Abraham your father, Elohim of Yitzhak. The land on which you are lying, I give it to you and your seed shall be as the dust of the earth. You shall break forth to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south, and all the clans of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your seed. These are the names of the children in order. Well, except for Don, right? Everybody take a look at that and let me know if you got any questions or anything cool to say.
Well, I already said what I thought. 6 or 5 of the, well, yeah, 6 of the names are Leah's weepy names that her husband doesn't love her.
All the Oy vey names. Oy vey. Yeah, pretty neat. And the first 4 sons, of course, came from her. Let's talk about the speckled sheep and the goats. Let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there every speckled, spotted sheep, black one among the lambs. I think my microphone just died. And such shall be my wages. Then Jacob took fresh rods of poplar, almond, plane trees, peeled white strips, exposing the white which is in the rods. He set the rods which he peeled in front of the flocks in the gutters. So the flocks mated by the rods, and the flocks brought forth striped and speckled and spotted. So, let's talk about the commentary. Some have said that that's a vignette to assert that Torah is pseudoscience and therefore false. It's because we all know that if you put peeled bark sticks in front of lambs and stuff, that doesn't mean that they're going to give birth to spotted and speckled lambs. Doesn't change their genetics. Exactly right. That's what they say. So, because of this story, the Torah must be false.
How's that?
Because it's scientifically not possible to use some sticks. But let's talk about the fact that I think it is. Psalm 18:27, with trustworthy act trustingly, with the crooked. The Talmud, talking about the Megillah, teaches that while it is never permitted to steal or lie, one must protect himself against thieves, connivers. Consequently, Jacob resorted to several devices to outwit his uncle and retain what was rightfully his under the original terms of the arrangement. He placed the colored rods in front of the flocks at the time they conceived, so they would bear lambs having the same markings. What do you think this is about right here? Having been instructed to do so by an angel.
Bingo.
When God tells you to do something unusual, it works.
Yeah. So, this is what I think. I don't know if anybody else thinks this. So he took those rods, he peeled the bark off of them, and whenever the does and the ewes would go into heat, he brought in the strongest speckled rams, and he built a fence around them with the sticks.
What about putting it in the water trough?
It says put them in the gutters. If you read the Hebrew of it, it's in the gutters.
So, like a ditch, right? Like
either-
digging a trench and then putting it in the
Say
trench.
together where they came from.
Where they came to drink.
Oh, okay.
He
But-
built a fence whenever they were in heat. He made sure that only spotted, speckled, and striped animals were inside the fence. They mated. They're out of heat now. He can let them go. He just produced a bunch of speckled animals. Now that is science.
I thought that it was the strong animals that he.
He did, right? He did the strong animals.
Yeah.
But if they were pure white or pure black, he only mated them with speckled, striped animals inside the fence.
So
And all
are
the
you-
sickly animals, he left them out.
Are you saying that God's command has to comply to science?
No. But God invented science, so.
I don't think it was science. I think it was good engineering.
I think it was God.
He built,
It
the
definitely
fence.
was.
The prophet told the widow to do with the oil.
Whichever
Philip,
way
I'll
it
start
worked
filling
out,
up all the
God said,
jobs.
do it, it worked.
God said do it and it worked, right? I'm just saying, I started thinking about this stick thing. I'm not going to tell you that this is the way it is because the Bible just doesn't say it, but it kind of seems to me like he built a fence.
It's very hard to know what he was.
Very hard to know, exactly
What they
right.
were doing.
Hard to know. I just think, okay, which one of those, God command to do something or science? Which one are you making the yardstick that you measured the other one?
Oh, God's command. God's command
That
is,
wasn't,
Yeah.
if you're trying to reason, say, oh, it's gotta be, it complies to science.
no, I mean,
No, you're making science the yardstick.
Yeah.
well, the science part is if you breed a speckled lamb with a speckled, or a speckled ewe with a speckled ram, you get a speckled lamb.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
If you made
The measuring stick is not the science part. I'm just saying, when you make,
if you made
make
a
black
solid with a
almonds, you get
speckle,
black
you get a
almonds.
speckle.
What?
If you made a solid with a speckle, you get speckle.
You bet you would.
I'm just saying, who brought the science into the picture?
Oh, nobody. Oh,
Well, read the first sentence.
the first sentence says that Torah is pseudoscience and therefore false. That's why I was talking.
No, I'm
about.
saying in the Torah, itself.
I think what you're saying is
Where in
that
the Torah did it say this was a
it
scientific
could have been
method
either
that God
miraculous
used?
or it could have God could have worked through naturalistic
Exactly.
causes or miracles.
Bottom line is
Does
God,
both.
an angel told him to do it. He did it.
Yeah, I'm just agreeing with Jim though. Here, man's the one that
I'm
uses
not used to
science.
that.
Oh,
I agree with you.
well, I have to agree with you, so.
Has it ever been, are you saying there has been a research project done on this?
No.
It's just kind of
It's people that try
second
to
stage.
It's people that try to disprove the Bible by
say, look
saying,
at this.
yeah, look at this. That's impossible.
Look
Forget
at
it.
this little one thing.
Because the way it
whole
reads,
rest
it
of
makes
must
it
be
sound like
untrue because of
if
this one little
the
thing.
sheep saw these sticks that were peeled back so that you could see the whites of the sticks, then that would control the color of their offspring. Of course, that's not really what it's saying, but if you just read it, you can kind of say, oh, it's saying that, but that's not really what it's trying
Those
to tell.
people conveniently leave out that God told them how to do it and what to do.
Yes, exactly right.
It's kind of like the lump of figs with Hezekiah. I think a lot of people have tried that for sicknesses, and I'm not saying it didn't work. I'm just trying to say anything in the Bible people have tried to recreate. And God,
Yeah.
said, like washing in the Jordan for Naaman for leprosy, or wherever it was.
The one thing we want to make sure we don't do is be like the rabbis and try to explain away the dishonesty. So anyway, so my only reason to bring up science is because atheists and whoever else doesn't want to believe in the Torah, it's an argument that they use. Let's see where we at.
Which I could understand what he was really trying to do there.
Me too. I would do it. There's a lady across the road from me, man. She started out with about 10 goats, and I guarantee you she's got 150 goats out there, man. It's really crazy. 31:19 through 35. Let's read this real quick. 19 through 35 says, when Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole the house idols that were her father's. And Yaakov deceived Laban the Aramean because he did not inform him that he was about to flee. So that the sea thing. And he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and he passed over the river. And he headed towards the mountains of Gilead. And on the third day, Laban was told that Yaakov had fled, and he took his brothers with him and pursued him for 7 days. And he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But in a dream, by night, Elohim came to Laban, the Aramean, and said to him, "Guard yourself that you do not speak to Yaakov either good or evil." And Laban overtook Yaakov. Now Yaakov had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brothers pitched in the mountains of Gilead. And Laban said to Yaakov, "What have you done that you deceived me and driven my daughters off like captives taken with the sword? Why did you flee secretly and deceive me and not inform me? And I would have sent you away with joy and songs, with tambourine and lyre." He's a liar. And you, not double entendre right there. "And you did not allow me to kiss my sons and my daughters, and now you have been foolish to do this. It is the power of my hand to do evil to you. But the Elohim of your father spoke to me last night, saying, 'Guard yourself, that you do not speak to Yaakov either good or evil.' And now you have gone because you greatly long for your father's house. But why did you steal my mighty ones?" Yaakov answered and said to Laban, "Because I was afraid, for I said that lest you tear your daughters away from me. With whomever you find your mighty ones, do not let him live. In the presence of our brothers, see for yourself what is with me, and take it with you." For Yaakov did not know that Rachel had stolen it. And Laban went to Yaakov's tent and to Leah's tent, and into the tents of the 2 female servants, but he did not find them. And he came out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Rachel had taken the house idols and put them in a camel's saddle and sat on them. And Laban searched all around the tent, but did not find them. And he said to her, "Father, let it not displease my master that I am unable to rise, for the way of women is with me." And he searched, but did not find the house idols. Ark Scroll Commentary. Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen, and the Torah testifies that Jacob uttered the imprecation because he suspected that an idolatrous servant had stolen the teraphim to worship them in secret. He even had, if he had even the slightest notion that Rachel had stolen them, he would, A, not have denied it so boldly, and B, never have uttered a curse. He would have known that she had no desire to worship idols, but that her motive was to wean her father from idolatry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never heard that one before.
There we go. Explaining it away. Right? Yes, you got a question? Go ahead, sweetie.
I'm pretty sure the idols are just very valuable. You could probably sell it for a lot of gold. My inheritance is pretty
Yeah,
That's a great explanation.
that's what I suspected.
Her inheritance was gone. Hey, I'm taking something.
Because her father gave them nothing.
Sure. Better than what this thing says. Let me tell you.
That could be, we never did hear what became of them.
Right? We didn't. Yeah.
But
Because of her utter. Go ahead.
maybe she secretly worshipped the idols to hopefully help her become with child. And obviously it didn't work
Yeah, right.
for a
She
while.
grew up worshiping the idols.
Yeah.
Because of her utter contempt for Laban's gods, Rachel placed them beneath her, is what the Zohar says. In the plain sense of the verse, however, she simply wanted to hide them, and she knew that if she explained to Laban that the way of women was upon her, he would not trouble her to rise. So, I think, Constance, that's pretty good insight right there. Not saying that's the way it is, that's really good insight. Interestingly, they say, now, where did Rachel die? Anybody remember? Yep.
Bethlehem?
Yep.
Right outside Bethlehem?
Yeah.
On the road entry?
Right. So what
No,
they,
that's where she's going.
I read a story also in the Mishnah that says that Jacob's words were true. She did die because she stole the item. She died long before she should have. So his words came to pass.
It's like David with Jonathan. Seems like.
Same, yeah.
Curse.
It does seem like that.
Well, I'll say more, remember, was it Jephthah?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's God.
Like these people that love to utter certain things.
Yeah.
You know, someone's gonna
Don't
get
do
killed.
that, people.
Who has questions?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
That I don't know the answer to.
I probably don't either, so.
Okay, you had the dream. He's convinced it was God talking to him.
Yeah.
He's convinced this is the place, the house of God. And he makes a vow to it. When he anoints the stone, he makes a vow that he would give God 10%. Okay, this is before the tabernacle, this is before the temple, this is before the Levites. What form did that take, giving God 10%? What did that mean back then? How did you do that back then?
Excellent question. I think you wrote a check. I really don't know, man.
That isn't someone off who asked the question.
Man, I don't know. That is an excellent question. Go ahead.
Well, so the first obvious one is if it is animal or vegetable, then you burn it as a sacrifice.
Well, where did that rule come from, though? Torah?
So that goes all the way back to Cain and Abel were giving sacrifices of plants and meat right from the beginning.
So actually, that particular thing, I'm not sure that the vegetables were what the problem was. I believe it was because it says he didn't bring his best. He didn't bring his first fruits. He brought vegetables. He didn't bring his best.
No offense, Wes.
The first sacrifice was made by God for Adam and Eve so they could have skins to wear, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so is that what, so they had a sacrifice. In the Torah, it specifically says what you do with that sacrifice, how you burn it, what part you use, that you eat it in a certain place. So is that what they did?
Well, not all of them are eaten. There are some that are wholly burnt.
But what Mr. Jim is saying is that there's lots of specifics on how the 10% is distributed.
True.
Later on.
Burnt, eaten, sold.
Revealed in the Torah.
Right, at this
At this point, who they go? There's no Levites to give it to.
Okay, and so then
Oh, there's no standard.
he gave his
Very general
10%
kind of the-
to Melchizedek.
Yeah,
He wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't know that he wasn't. He lived forever, for all we know.
Well, if he did, he's pretty wrinkly by
There's got
now.
to be a method.
Yeah.
And they said back then, I will dedicate this to God.
Yeah.
What did that mean?
What did that mean?
It
I don't
went
know.
to the order of Melchizedek.
You can't show me that in scripture though. You're
Oh,
saying.
we know that it existed, though.
It could
That's
be.
all we know.
Could be, you're right.
But we're not told that.
Yeah, we're simply not told.
No, it's barely, it's just like it's mentioned in passing there. Oh, and he promised to give 10%.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't say to do, but he probably was to bless people.
Well, no, it's to Yahweh.
Well,
Give it to
I
God
was-
somehow.
Maybe just as a, I mean, in the Torah, aren't you allowed to share at least some of the tithe with the widow and the orphan?
So the Torah has
There's no
the,
standard.
we're talking about pre-Moses. We're talking Jacob here.
Well,
And he promised God to give 1/10 of all of his increase. And so Jim's question was, how did he do that?
What form did that take? Before Mish?
How did he make that happen?
Before Torah,
Yes.
before.
Oh, I don't know. I just
before
thought maybe-
Yeah, me neither.
Well, he shared with Levi because Levi was already born.
Well, he couldn't give anything to Melchizedek until he got back to Israel. Before he was in Israel, what tax was he getting?
I don't have an answer to that, but I just.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, man.
I'd like
That's what I'm talking about in the beginning. If you don't read 4 or 5 words and come up with a question,
Inquiring minds would like to know.
I'm gonna look it up now.
The most brilliant scientist in the USA.
You guys need inquiring.
It also applied to Noah's sacrifice, what happened there. You know what I'm saying, like, he sacrificed obviously lots of animals.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
can
so were
understand
those
that.
eaten or were they just burnt offerings or?
I can understand that, as far
Like
as
the
animals, but there are, he said 10%, not just his animals.
Right.
10% of all of his income.
Is this the first time
Wine,
scripture
oil,
where
spices.
the
Increase.
percentage point is tacked on to sacrifice and
1/10.
Things you grow over.
tithe, I think?
I think
Is this the first time scripture where the numbers, yes, I mean, percentage points.
No, that's what I was saying. So when Abraham came back from the battle, when he rescued Lot,
Okay, so that's the first time.
he gave 10, well, we don't know if it, is that the first time that's ever mentioned? That might be.
That's what I'm saying, is this the first time that he
Specifically
gets
said he
percentage
gave
points specifics?
Yes, so when
To-
Abraham gave to Melchizedek, it was 10%.
Okay, so that was.
That's the first time that I know.
I'd have to look that up. I'm sure you're talking about it. It's an excellent
Don't we have to
question.
take some form?
Has to. He said he was gonna do it, he did it, but we don't know how. Levi was born great for him.
Yeah, saved it up for, he knew he was gonna leave it.
Here, Adonai, thank you for letting us come and study and ponder your word that you've given to us. We thank you for Messiah. We thank you for everything in Yeshua's name. Let's go have Abdallah.
56.
You got a dollar?
Chairs back where they were.
This congregation is they must be very
I get it.
You can carry two.
I was born. I do not like the. I was born raised. That I think the snowstorm might have had a factor in why I don't like
This